Finland's deficit is growing, but instead of raising taxes to plug the shortfall, Finland is cutting them and betting that supply-side reforms and stronger labour incentives will deliver long-term growth and fiscal sustainability. It's a radical alternative to the austerity, stagnant growth, and eroding public services seen across much of Europe. Rather than squeezing workers, Finland is trying to help them. It's focusing on actually getting more people into jobs, making work pay, and modernising its social model. The expectation is that higher employment will boost output, reduce welfare costs, and expand the tax base, without the need for tax hikes that choke investment and spending. First, Finland is tightening its unemployment benefits and linking them more directly to active job seeking. Under the new rules, anyone unemployed for more than 2 months will see their benefits cut by 20%, and those who fail to actively search for work, or who turn down suitable job offers or retraining programs, risk losing support altogether. The message is clear. The state will help you, but only if you're doing your part to get back into the workforce. Second, the government is targeting the growing number of long-term sick and disabled workers. Like many Western nations, Finland has seen a sharp rise in disability claims, especially for conditions like chronic pain and mental health. Many claimants are under 55 and could return to work with the right support. So the system is being tightened. Medical reassessments will become more frequent, and employers will be encouraged to offer modified duties or reduced hours before a worker is moved to long-term leave. The goal is to prevent people from drifting out of the labour force for good. But the most controversial reforms are happening in the labour market itself. For decades, Finland's workers and employers have operated under sector-wide collective bargaining agreements, where unions negotiate pay and conditions at the national level. The new strategy sets out to change that, by giving individual firms more flexibility to set their own terms. Non-unionised businesses, for example, may be allowed to offer lower wages or different contract structures when it helps them stay competitive. Unions are furious, but for the government, it's a calculated risk. In their view, smaller companies, startups, and regional employers need more freedom to adapt, especially in sectors like tech, hospitality, and export manufacturing, where rigid national agreements can act as a hiring barrier. Taken together, these reforms signal a dramatic departure from the traditional Nordic model. In many ways, they're more Thatcherite than social democratic, emphasising flexibility, personal responsibility, and labour market incentives over universal safety nets and collective bargaining. It's a pretty bold experiment, but it's driven by necessity. Like other countries, Finland's public debt has grown significantly, from around 30% of GDP in the early 2000s to over 83% today. That's not the worst debt ratio in the world, but unless addressed, with the familiar problems of stalling growth and an ageing population, the debt metrics are only going to get worse. More specific to Finland is the fact that it shares a 1,340-kilometre border with Russia, a frontier that today represents a clear and present threat to national security, especially now with growing uncertainty about the reliability of its biggest ally, the United States. To maintain national security, Finland has little choice but to ramp up defence spending significantly. But with the large cost comes large consequences. To accommodate a meaningful increase in defence spending, Finland will need to choose between either increasing borrowing and risk crowding out the private sector, or cutting public services and hurt the most vulnerable in society, or raising taxes and risk stalling growth. Or more likely, it will employ a mix of all three. So faced with a clear choice between the familiar strategy of harsh austerity or a new approach that focuses on widening the tax base, boosting growth, and significant supply-side reform, Finland has chosen the latter. These reforms are, unsurprisingly, deeply unpopular with trade unions and the centre-left opposition, and some critics see echoes of the UK's ill-fated mini-budget approach, trying to spur growth through tax cuts without sufficient public buy-in or institutional support. However, these proposals have been introduced by the centre-right coalition led by Prime Minister Petteri Orpo of the National Coalition Party, with Finance Minister Riikka Purra of the Nationalist Finns Party playing a key role. They differ from Liz Truss's disastrous mini-budget because the Finnish parties hold a stable parliamentary majority and were both elected in 2023 on a clear mandate for economic reform, including spending cuts and welfare tightening. Still, success is far from guaranteed. If the experiment fails, the Bank of Finland warns the country's debt-to-GDP ratio could rise to between 90 and 100% by 2030. That's not catastrophic by global standards. Many Western economies already carry far higher burdens. But if it succeeds, the implications could be transformative. Europe has underperformed for years, trapped in a cycle of stagnant growth, rising debt, and shrinking competitiveness. Finland's supply-side experiment offers an alternative, one where countries can actually reform their economies to reward work and innovation and grow their way out of debt, rather than passively managing decline. This isn't business as usual. It's a rare moment of real economic ambition. And if it proves to be successful, it provides a model that could be rolled out across Europe and beyond. A link for the next video should be on your screens now. Just click to keep watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching.